I started my career, I um, got my bachelor's degree in 2003. I was a criminal justice major. My intention was actually to enter law enforcement.
Okay.
I was initially planning to, well, hoping to work for the FBI. That didn't work out. I interviewed with the Los Angeles Police Department, and I was on the way to going to the academy. But then I lost my taste for that as time went by.
Okay.
And then about a year later, after I graduated from college, I interviewed with the California Department of Corrections, and I went through the process. I was at the tail end of that process and ready to be brought on board. At that time, I was also working in a boys' home in San Dimas, California, and uh, it was difficult work. It was working with teenage boys in particular in our unit. We were a step below juvenile hall, so we would get
Gotcha.
kids from the courts, kids who committed petty offenses, but if they kept at it, they were pretty much going to juvenile hall. So,
Hmm.
of course, just being yelled at and cussed at and insulted in every way, shape, and form,
Yeah.
it really wore me down. But I still showed up for the kids, nevertheless. So every unit had a therapist. I remember our therapist, his name was Martin. And Martin was total opposite of someone our kids would connect to. Most of our kids were Latino African American youth. Martin was, as he used to say, was one of the whitest white guys. Uh, I don't want to get into the specifics of that. Those were his
No,
words.
it's okay. It's okay.
But every week, well, he would meet with the kids individually, and then they would do group therapy sessions with him. So before their group therapy sessions, they would come home from school. They'd be agitated, irritated, and of course, that's when they'd start fighting with each other, yelling at us, what have you. So Martin would call them back into his office for their group
Yeah.
sessions. They'd be, pissed off and agitated, but they'd go in there with him. By the time they left, an hour and a half later, they were smiles and laughs, joking with each other. They were on program. They did their chores, and just were able to finish out their day with
Beautiful.
relative ease. So I thought, wow, Martin must be doing some magic with these kids if before they go and see him, they're cussing at each other, cussing at us, and fighting, and all of a sudden, they're okay. So
Yeah.
I wound up leaving the boys' home. I actually didn't take the California Department of Corrections job either, too, because I realized that would keep me away from my family I was hoping to start at the time. I'd be working up to maybe 80 hours a week, sometimes even more under very dangerous conditions. So
Mm.
I just realized that wasn't for me. So I decided, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to lean more into the behavioral health, social work realm, because that just seems to be my heart's calling. I want to help people and not keep people behind bars. So I started doing work at several agencies in Los Angeles County. I do in-home support, so I'd work with the kids and the families. I
Yeah.
would teach the parents, how to communicate, how to conflict resolve with their kids, how to put them on program, and things like that. And I remember one of our former supervising clinicians, her name is Cindy Dowd. Her and I were going over a case that we were collaborating on, and I was just telling her, well, these are my interventions, and this is what I had in mind based on the family dynamics and what I'm
Yeah.
seeing, what the kid responds to, and what works best for the mom. So she's listening to me, she's looking at my notes, and then she asked me, "Wow, Luis, this is good stuff. You're not a therapist?" And I told her, "No, Cindy, I'm not." But I just thought, oh wow, okay, here is a therapist because she was a therapist telling me that wow, my work is on the par up to par with what a therapist would do to conceptualize a case and formulate interventions and things like that. So I thought
Hmm.
long and hard about it, and just even again with other successes I was having with other clinical supervisors on cases, I just realized, okay, so I think of this and then think of Martin's experience with the kids. Maybe this is my calling. And again, working in LA County with primarily clients, families of color, I thought, you know what, just we're not served. There needs to be more of us. I mean, more support,
Yes.
especially from folks who look like us, to help these families because we just think about these folks being disenfranchised by our healthcare system, social
Hmm.
service system. I think just seeing someone who looks like them, speaks a language, understands the dynamics of the culture and things like that, they're going to feel a lot safer. They're going to trust you, but they're going to get to subsequently that place you're helping them get to. with
Hmm.
you being kind of the agent of change, or just helping them out in that regard. So
Right.
that's when I entered grad school. I went on a part-time basis because I was still working. So what would have taken me 2 years actually took me 4 years. I graduated in 2010 from Pacific Oaks College with a master's in marriage and family therapy. And then I started my initial phases into the journey, and I jumped from a couple of uh, community agencies in Los Angeles County. And my last one I worked at was from 2012 until 2017. I started doing different work. I was still doing therapeutic type work, but one of the programs I helped launch with that agency was a gardening therapy program. So we had the clients
Mm,
come out, and we had this community garden next to our clinic. So we would teach them how to grow whatever was in season, tomatoes, cucumbers, yada yada. But that was their therapy right there.
that's
So we're
beautiful.
bringing people, from all different walks of life, all ages, and it was very cathartic for them. We'd run little pseudo therapy type groups, and they just love being outdoors. So it was probably one of the highlights of my career. But around that time, a couple of years later, actually, I was looking to launch my own practice just as a side gig, because a lot of us who work in community mental health, licensed therapists in particular, tend to test the waters and okay, but what about seeing clients on the side and
Right.
just seeing how that goes. So yeah, I tested the waters before you know it. I knew it. I just jumped right in. And so in 2017, I left my full-time job and I went into full-time practice and been there ever since. It took me about a year though to develop my niche, because I was just seeing everybody. I was seeing families, adults, kids as young as 5 years old. Being a dad, I think what was tough for me was just I would do play therapy with my clients. I love doing it.
Yeah.
But when I came home, I was just so tired. My kids wanted to play with me, and I didn't have the energy to give them because I was just so beat up
Hmm.
after being on the floor playing Monopoly or Candyland or whatever it was. So that, and then I just kind of go back to my own struggles in life and some things I had dealt with. And again, this can probably be another couple hours long conversation. I just realized that men's mental health, where is the availability
There you go.
of providers for men, and again, in particular, men of color, men who are dealing with things like anxiety, depression, unresolved grief, trauma. Men can definitely endure trauma as well, but again, scant resources and availability. So it just kind of
Yes.
hit me like lightning one day, in that, what, this is my niche. This is my niche. I need to develop this. There are not very many of us, so hopefully, with me and other folks, other male therapists, or even female therapists too, who
Hmm.
specialize in men's mental health, if we start bringing more awareness, then hopefully it changes the narrative for men, and that you can come forward and seek and obtain that support to deal with these issues you're dealing with. It's been an uphill battle, an uphill climb, because, like what I mentioned earlier, the whole stigma behind men's mental health, and again with men of color in particular, but it's been very fulfilling in so many ways too. So the story continues to write itself. I'm still available. I'm still, fighting alongside my clients to help them get to where they need to get to destigmatize mental health and just raise further awareness. So I'm looking forward to several more years, decades. I mean, heck, I'm even thinking of maybe one way or another after I retire. I have a feeling I'm still going to be in the game
Yeah.
one way or another, but that's fine. Even if it's writing a book or something to raise awareness of this, I think I'm still going to be involved. But it's great, and again, it's challenging work, but just when you find those moments of success with your clients, even if they're few and far in between, those are
Hmm.
probably some of the most wonderful things I think a person can
Yes.
experience.